Hello and welcome back to the MMA Split Picks show for the last card of the year, a fight night, a Vegas card with an excellent lineup. It might not be UFC 269, but we've got some great fights, a fantastic heavyweight main event with one of our absolute fan favorites and another young up-and-coming guy that we're both huge fans of as well, and a stacked card to close out an exciting year. It's not the only fights that we have got this weekend. Of course, we have also got the rematch between Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley. In the boxing, however, as Josh is not the biggest fan of...
and Sly is not here.
And Sly is not here, and he's not that interested. I'm going to try and see if I can speak to old Tommy Trolls at some point before Friday about that, and release a little sort of abbreviated quick episode just on that, like we did for the last fight between these two. The rest of this show, though, is going to be purely MMA. I do want to start with a bit of news, though, just before we dig into the picks, because we didn't really do the news on the UFC 269 breakdown. There was just way too much stuff going on, and that video was already sort of getting to the hour and a half mark. We have got some news to touch on. We've, I think the really best place to start is Eagle FC. What I thought was going to be a little bit of a feeder organization, young guys, maybe a lot of Dagestani guys, you know, people from around that Khabib wants to push and act as a feeder. They've signed some great names. They've signed Kevin Lee to a multi-fight deal in what I hear is going to be a 165-pound division.
I mean, I'm assuming it's for good fucking money too, because Kevin Lee probably did have some options on the table there. But yeah, they're talking about pursuing some names. Khabib is being, very ambitious. It kind of makes sense. When Gary Neville became a pundit, no one expected him to be amazing right away. But you understand that mindset, that champion mentality, that you're just going to work that hard at everything you do. I've got to remember to stop putting my left hand up. I've got my camera offside. I don't even know what's better. This feels more natural. I'm going to fix the camera thing for the next episode. It's just a one-day thing. But yeah, when Gary Neville, turns into one of the finest pundits you could ever imagine, Khabib approaches everything seriously. He's just an out-and-out winner. It makes sense that Eagle FC is not just going to be some low-level regional outfit. They're actually going to attract a lot of talent and bring in some big names. And I forget who else I read about, but Kevin Lee is just sort of the first of many kind of targeted prospects that they're hoping to sign.
Well, he's saying that if Dustin Poirier ever wants to leave the UFC, he's got a 165-pound division spot for him. So he is certainly going for the best of the best. I suppose it shouldn't be a surprise, really, because it's a guy who dominated when he was actually, in his professional career himself. It should be no surprise that he's going to want to dominate in every other avenue that he's pursuing now, whether that's coaching, whether that's as a fight promoter, promotion owner. And he's doing a great job.
Yeah, he fucking is. I think Masvidal's bare knuckle MMA thing's going to do pretty good as well. Game bred MMA or game bred fighting.
I really like that, man. I think it's a much better idea than bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah, and I think Jason Knight was a really smart acquisition on their part.
Oh, that's a great acquisition. And they've got somebody else, man. Have they got Bigfoot Silva or some fucking crazy thing? Or
I want to say he signed something different, something stupid like that Triller Triad thing. Or maybe bare knuckle. I don't know. Shit, I forgot what my original point was. Maybe it'll come back to me. Maybe it won't. Tense. Yeah, it didn't come back to me. All right. Tension over.
I can't think who it is, but they've got, he signed a couple of really interesting names. One of them I remember thinking like, damn, that's a good signing. And arguably bare knuckle MMA is far more sensible than bare knuckle boxing because of the fact that it really is that idea of like, the traditional martial arts sort of equipment. It's only really in boxing and kickboxing that you would ever have these kind of wraps. If you really want to have the true test of mixed martial arts, having to factor in, you can break your hands, but obviously you've got an easier ability to grapple, to use submissions, to grab, all this kind of stuff. And of course, you have all the other weapons available to you. It'll be interesting to see. I haven't watched any Gamebred FC so far, but I am curious when you start seeing some high level fighters in, whether or not that really does take a big boxing element out of it, or whether or not that still remains quite present.
I mean, you got to think, because even with MMA, guys are very conscious of the fact that it's quite easy to break your hands, like if you land on like the top of the head, for example. So I think they're already aware that if you're going to hit someone as hard as you can, kind of feels better if you do it with your elbow or your knee. And if you're going to do it with your hand, land flush. So yeah, I think it's like an easier kind of transition mentally, kind of to think from MMA to bare knuckle MMA, because you've already kind of pulled your punches a little bit more, or you already understand what can happen to your hands if you're just like throwing haymakers and, you know, catching them in the wrong part of the body. Who knows? I think too many guys spar with like the big gloves on for MMA as well. Like it always kind of irks me a little bit when I see big camps doing like the MMA sparring with the big gloves on. And I think maybe this is just like a very small part of what they do, and it's what they've shown on the cameras. I keep seeing it over and over again. And I just think there are so many smarter ways to spar without having to put the bigger gloves on. And it's just such a detriment, just takes away from so many different aspects. But
I think there's another
I
interesting
digress.
Well, it's an interesting digression though, because touching on Dan Hardy, he reads a lot of books on combat and martial arts and all the rest. And I remember he was doing a podcast a couple of months ago, and he's saying that he was reading a boxing book from like the 1920s. The reason he was reading it is because the hands weren't wrapped back then. And so the way that people box, certain principles that you had were built with the understanding that you didn't want to break your hand, basically, because you didn't have that same freedom. And obviously the guard and how one would defend themselves is very different. And from an MMA perspective, there's actually a lot of value in that, because boxing as a sport that's progressed is very much adapted to the technology that was available to it, as every single sport does. But if you go further back, you can actually find routes that are going to be more relevant for the sport that you're in. And maybe when it comes to boxing, this is a bit of an issue where, you know, a boxing coach is going to teach fundamental boxing, and certain things just don't work in the same way once you get the small gloves on and you're in the situation.
Yeah, I kind of love Dan Hardy. Just what a little martial arts nerdlinger. But
man, he is.
bless him.
It's crying shame that the UFC fired him, because he's just one of those intellectual minds, you know, that adds that next level of explanation and understanding and detail than the average pundit, of which there are fantastic pundits.
Yeah, one of the other ones kind of being Dominic Cruz, who also is not afraid to kind of piss off the UFC from time to time.
No, but it helps when you're the greatest champion in a weight class in terms of the slack that they're willing to give you.
Yeah, he does get a lot more leeway, but he does make a lot more kind of like accidental errors as well. You know,
this is true. This is true.
More slip ups with mini DC.
Yeah, there's truth to that. But let's be honest, Dan Hardy, he's doing a great thing with his podcast, Full Reptile. Shout out to those guys. And he got immediately hired by BT Sport, so he's not suffering. Let's be honest here. He's still doing well.
Yeah.
Touching on some other news, run through a couple of these a bit more quickly. Brunson versus Cannonier has been rebooked for 271. I think almost certainly to be a co-main event and line up very nicely second to Izzy versus Whitaker 2, which is, as far as I know, official for UFC 271. Dana said it's official. Hunter said it's official. Rob has said it's official. Izzy says it's not official, but like it's on all the websites. I don't know what's going on there. I think there might be some mind games.
I mean, has he actually gone past just like posting that little cap emoji?
I think pretty much it's the cap emoji at this point.
Yeah, it's official. Like, I don't know if he's just like deliberately trying to stir up a little bit of controversy, thus interest in the fight. which there is no need to. But yeah, no, it's definitely happening.
Um, I like that. I think it makes sense. You have the guys fighting for the next title shot before the title shot. Only thing happens is if Rob wins, they're going to be waiting a little bit longer because you've got to do the trilogy if he wins that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
And I love Bobby Knuckles, but it is a sizable if. So
it's a sizable if.
this is just smart match fight scheduling.
In other news, Nate Diaz has had his contract extended with the UFC. Wasn't his last fight, but they've got some locked in for a few more. Doesn't mean he has a few more fights in him. It's just their way of making sure that, you know, he doesn't get a chance to sign and go off with somebody else while his career is still active.
And I think he would rather just make his money in the next few fights anyway. So it's just a good win-win.
Works for that. People are talking about Hangman down at featherweight, potentially fighting Brian Ortega. Don't think it's the right fight for either guy. Change my mind.
I don't know. I like it a lot. It's a win-win for both guys. It's a win-win. Like whoever wins is in a good situation. Whoever loses, it's not necessarily going to be the biggest deal. Yeah, I think it's an interesting matchup. I think Dan Hook is so fucking big that it kind of negates a lot of what Ortega gets away with in the stand-up.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Can Dan smother and survive on top? In a different style, but a similar sense to what Volk did, or who knows? I just really want to fucking see that fight.
I get you. But our next news story, just to touch, and this is a very brief one, touches on a guy that moved down in weight and took way too high of a step up in immediate quality instead of maybe getting adjusted to the division. So that's the only thing I'd say there. Whereas for Ortega, I think for what he's done so far, he deserves to fight a higher ranked guy than what's effectively the number 8 guy coming down into a new division.
Yeah, but still a legend. Still a big name. A guy that has, 4 or 5 UFC fights at featherweight?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the number 8 guy, but it's only really on recent form. We all kind of view him as a top 5 guy. And even if you do think he's only a number 8 guy, well, the rest of the world still gets fucking excited to hear his name. So that's just 2 reasons to take the fight.
That's just because he's a fucking legend.
You think it's easy and still a big name. Yeah, he is. He's an absolute fucking legend. So,
have you seen the podcast he's been doing on the Mac Life?
No.
Hub Talk. Good? It's with the English bloke, the English guy who works for the Mac Life. He does a lot of the media stuff. Can't remember what his name is. I should know his name. But it's great. It's basically them just getting pissed and talking about stuff. But they've just got a very good sort of... Because obviously Cook has still just been in Vegas the whole time. He's still not back in Australia. So he's obviously just decided, fuck it, I'm just going to do this podcast once a week, talking about stuff.
When are they relocating, though? Is that the whole team coming over?
At some point they are, I think. But he is going to be going back soon. I think he has already started getting back.
I thought it was an imminent thing. So
it is. As far as I know, I think they're still doing Izzy's camp in Auckland, as far as I know. Maybe that's the reason Izzy hasn't signed the contract. Maybe it's been tricky for them to train because they've kind of had to be a little sneaky about it. I mean, it's not as bad as Australia, but...
Yeah, it's kind of the other reason I thought they were already relocating or maybe even relocated.
It hasn't happened yet, as far as I know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think stay out there, Dan. Just coax them all into as soon as Izzy's fight's done, just everyone on the plane.
Maybe. Not the worst idea.
Actually, wait, is it Australia, the Izzy fight, or is it New Zealand? Or is it somewhere else completely?
Oh, no, it's in Houston.
It's in Houston.
Yeah.
Get them over now. Get everyone over now.
Yeah, particularly with numbers on the rise with Omicron.
Yeah, fucking everyone in America now. Just keep it easy. if he's having any problems training in New Zealand, then frankly, it's just a big upgrade anyway. So
True.
they don't give a hoot in the States.
Final news we'll touch on. Cody's been taken out of the bantamweight rankings. I freaked everyone on the podcast out because I saw a tweet that said UFC roster watch update, and then it said Cody Garbrandt with a big X next to its name, which is usually what notification I get when somebody's been cut. But no, he's just been taken out of the rankings. I don't know if he's been added to the flyweight rankings. Let me try and have a check.
I think the rankings have been updated because I saw the bantamweight ones, just in terms of like O'Malley crashing in there. I think number 13.
Okay, I'm looking at it now. So there is no Cody. Yeah, no Cody in either rankings, which I think is fair enough. He's got and he should. He has to fight his way up. 5 losses in his last 6 fights. You go back to the beginning, you fight the up-and-comers, you don't fight a killer like Kai Kara France, and you rebuild in whatever, whether that's at bantamweight or at flyweight.
That's why I'm glad he's not ranked at flyweight, because I'd kind of like to see him squash his shit with O'Malley at 35.
I know you would, but I don't think that's a good fight for him right now.
I didn't say it was a good fight for him. I said that's what I want to see. And I think they can make that happen.
Fair enough. I think we should move on to do the picks. We got to talk about this main event. Derek Lewis, the Black Beast himself, back after his heartbreaking title loss. One of the many fighters that I root for that lost their title shots this year. Thank fuck for Rose Namajunas. Keeping the fucking flame alive. Derek Lewis has taken on a tough guy. He's taken on Chris Daukaus, police officer against former convict. I'm not the one saying that. That's Derek Lewis in his media scrum. He has described this as what he said. He said, "There's no way I can lose. I'm fighting a police officer. I'm not getting Rodney Kinged on ESPN."
Keeping it classy.
And he waited. Also, as according to South Park rules, once it's been 22.3 years since a horrible incident, it can now officially be funny again. So that's a good joke.
Yeah, he is the funniest guy in sports. Just hands down. Man, I feel the same way about this fight that I did when I lost money to you when he fought Volkov. And it's very different. Chris Daukaus, nowhere near as technical as Volkov or as long, but a lot more mobile and athletic. And at the same time, since that fight with Volkov, so is Derek Lewis. He's a much more leaner, kind of more agile guy. I know some of the weight's gone back on, but the guy still moves very well. And with that, he doesn't throw the Hail Mary knockout punch anymore. It's a much more kind of patient and considered counter shot. I really don't know if Chris can get through 5 rounds without getting tagged once, like just too hard. But I'm going to reach, and I'm going to go for my boy Chris Daukaus by decision, even though either guy could easily win this by knockout. I just feel it in my bones, Matt.
So Derek Lewis is coming off the back of a heartbreaking title loss in his own hometown against a bit of a phenomenon. And in that fight, he dealt with somebody that was technical and fast and with a high fight IQ and a good game plan, and in reality schooled him. Cyril Gane is a freak athlete, and the height, the reach, the everything, the stamina, all of it combined, the way he uses his athleticism, not so much for knockout power, but for all of the other aspects. A guy who fights like a middleweight, like a welterweight, basically, in the heavyweight division. If Derek Lewis had to fight Chris Daukaus before he had to fight Cyril Gane, I would have thought that Daukaus would have a better chance. My logic on that is that, as you say, he's agile, he's mobile, he's patient, he can throw in volume, he's got quick hands, he's got good boxing fundamentals, technical fighter. Derek's just seen the hardest guy that he's going to fight with all of those attributes. And let's be honest, he got his ass kicked. But he's had an opportunity to recover from that, improve, learn from that. And I don't think there's anything that Daukaus is going to bring better than what Cyril Gunn did, if that makes sense. And I think with that in mind, Derek Lewis, from a purely physical and technical ability standpoint, is not going to have as many issues to deal with. Daukaus isn't as big as a guy. There's not the same kind of reach, as you say. There's not the same kind of, size factor that comes into it. And from a kind of mental standpoint, and this is, there's two ways that you could look at this. Do you think, well, Derek Lewis has lost his previous fight? That was his big title shot. He's going to be demotivated, maybe a little down on confidence, all the rest? Or do you think that Derek Lewis was a guy that really struggled with all that pressure on his shoulders in that title fight? And actually the freedom of just fighting a fight night, no crowd, no title on the line, just another day at the office, is actually much better for his mental psyche. This is where I'm at. And listen,
we've covered it different ways. I've got that left hand in there again. I've come at it with the view that I'm going to completely take that Garn fight out of the equation because Garn is such a freak. I like your approach as well. Like, is this some on-the-job experience with these more or these slightly more mobile guys? Does he get to relive his PTSD in slow motion? Who knows? It's interesting. For me, though, I'm just completely taken out there. Derek Lewis is a guy that sometimes just gets a little tired. And I think if Chris is smart, which I expect him to be, and gets some takedowns in as well, and just, keeps a very busy kind of pace going, I think he can take 3 rounds early. And, if he does really kind of commit to the game plan, I think he can get Derek, tired enough. He can get through the 5th without getting knocked out, maybe. But I'm fucking reaching on that. But I tell you, it's the exact same feeling I had in that Volkov fight, and I was 8 seconds away from being right on that one. So I've got to go with it, even though I was wrong last time. I don't feel like I was proven wrong. I feel like the MMA guys just like to shit on me.
Well, I'm glad that you're going for Daukaus because it means that our picks are going to be interesting, hopefully right up until the last fight. I'm going for Derek Lewis. I'm going by knockout. And as usual, when I pick Derek Lewis, he's going to be losing the fight until he wins it. God bless you.
That's just how he fights.
God bless you. No logical sense of any kind. Shouldn't be as good as you are, but there you fucking are. You're the Arcane of MMA. Had no right to be that good. No right to be that good. Have you seen Arcane, by the way?
No.
Oh, buddy, you've got to watch it, man. It's the best thing on Netflix right now.
We say that, but The Witcher season 2 is dropping tomorrow. So
maybe so. Arcane is better.
Yeah, but Kate likes The Witcher, so we watch it together.
True. But you're going to finish The Witcher at some point, and after you finish The Witcher, you might be like, what can I watch? And part of you might be like, I haven't seen Community 9 times yet. But before you do that, what you should do is you should watch Arcane. It's 9 episodes of fucking gold. Some of the best animation you'll ever see, adult themes, and it's an animation, but the script could be live action animation. It wouldn't matter. Would not make a difference. You could have exactly the same script. It's just so well written.
All right, we'll try it out.
Good man. Back to the fights. Co-main event. Another one of our favorites. Another legend. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson taking on a guy that we also really like.
Yeah, I didn't know whose name you were going to say first after the intro.
I felt the word legend distinguished it. Like, Stephen Thompson has definitely had more legend statuses.
He's a bigger legend, but for me, Bilal Muhammad still qualifies just because I love the way the guy fights and just because of what he's been able to pull off in his career. And also just I feel like anytime I see people referencing like his tweets or posts or anything online, I'm like, okay, yeah, nice. This guy gets it.
Listen, everyone, if you don't like Bilal Muhammad, you're not a fan of fighting because the guy is all heart, he's all grind, he's in your face, he's forcing the action every step of the way.
He fights the modern MMA game. This is, the blueprint. There are certain guys, this left hand, I'm cutting it off, mate. There are certain guys that just understand that if you don't have elite speed, knockout power, if you haven't been doing taekwondo since before you could walk, that you're going to have to just be very, very good at doing everything the right way and employing the best, most strategically sound modern MMA kind of style. He's one of those guys. And yeah, that equates to a lot of wrestling and grinding. But, fuck it. The guy loves working hard, so it works.
Just to interject, when you said, it took me about 3 seconds to realize that you were referring to your hand coming up in the camera. Because when you were talking about Bilal Muhammad, he does everything you want in mixed martial arts. And then you said, left hand, man, I'm going to cut it off. I literally thought that you were talking about like he's just like Bilal Muhammad, he does everything. The left hand takes it out of the equation, just completely nullifies it. And then I realized you're referring to your hand.
Yeah, I should have been more clear on that. As because I'm not checking any stats or anything right now. It's got my little Zoom call up, which is very conscious every time this little beast comes up here. This is the last time I'm dealing with this problem. I can't really figure out a solution for the camera right now. I'll get a tripod going by Monday or Sunday.
So Bilal Muhammad is an example of how the modern mixed martial artist should fight. Stephen Thompson is an example of how the throwback mixed martial artist fights. We have got the classic, well-rounded all-rounder against the specialist, the striking specialist. Stephen Thompson kickboxes and karate fights in an MMA octagon. And he does it fucking brilliantly. He's one of the best counterpunchers. He's one of the most elusive guys. Even at 39, approaching 40 years old, he still seems to have all of his speed, the same athleticism, the same creativity, the same arsenal of weapons. He's coming off a bit of a tough loss, though. One of those, the loss to Gilbert Burns is one of those frustrating. You're right in there for a title shot. You might have gotten the title shot if you win it. And you just got held down in one position. And it does make me think, Gilbert Burns has got fantastic jiu-jitsu on the ground. But I've never thought of him as the biggest, he's got good wrestling, but he's not an expert wrestler. And I don't know if his specific takedowns are, going to be better than what Bilal Muhammad brings. So do I think Bilal Muhammad could take Stephen Thompson down? Yeah, I do. Obviously, once he's got him down, there's not the same amount of top control. There's not the same amount of threat. Stephen Thompson's not going to be worried about just holding a position like he had to do with Gilbert Burns a lot of the time, because you're thinking, don't give up your arm, don't give up your back, don't give up your neck. You still got to worry about those things, but the threat's not from the same kind of level of, with Bilal Muhammad as it is with Gilbert Burns. So I can see ways that Bilal can cause problems for Steve, but Stephen Thompson lost to one of the best guys in the division. And in reality, it wasn't a competition on the feet at all. Stephen Thompson was clearly better than him. And he's had a lot of time to work on things. And for however good Bilal is, he's not great enough in any one aspect, I don't think, to cause Stephen Thompson enough trouble. And he is going to get caught. And he's going to get caught hard. And he's going to be countered. And I think he's going to get frustrated. And I think he's going to lose on decision.
I think he's going to lose by knockout.
I thought about that, but he's so fucking tough, man.
He is tough, but he's a little slower, and his head movements a little riskier than Dorino. And I think Wonderboy is going to be able to kind of kick it clean off, to be honest. Because Bilal Muhammad is a fantastic fighter. Remember the name always. But I think this is a good matchup for Thompson. Even though he is old, it's not like he is fast, but he was never really kind of built on speed. It was always about reactions, agility, just that instinctive. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is like he hasn't been doing taekwondo since before he could walk. He's been doing karate, but essentially very similar. And so many kickboxing matches. The guy is unreal. I'm going Wonder Boy knockout, but it's not like it's like an easy fight or anything. Like Bilal's a fucking beast.
He really is. And this is a fight that he deserves. It's a well matched fight for both guys. It's going to bring some excitement, I think. The thing about Stephen as well is that he just loves it. He loves fighting. He loves competing. He's so relaxed when he's in there. He's enjoying himself. And it's really hard to break a guy like that. What Bilal does,
yeah,
you have to be able to frustrate somebody. It's hard to frustrate somebody. You get frustrated when you try to frustrate somebody and they don't bite. That's really frustrating. You're trying to break someone, you try and put under the pressure and they've got a grin on their face. It gets to you after a while. And
no one has broken Wonder Boy other than Matt Brown, and that was a long ass fucking time ago.
He didn't
and
break him, knocked him out.
No. Like as the fight progressed,
he didn't knock him out. He didn't knock him out. Sorry, you're right. Yeah.
It was a different level of violence. This left hand, mate. It was a different level of violence than Wonder Boy had really ever encountered before. He was kind of elbowing him to the side from the back. Like it was brutal. And ever since then, Wonder Boy has kind of been a different fighter for the better. It was kind of like that baptism,
Yeah.
And it was like one and done for Wonder Boy. After that, he was like, "Oh no, I am the fire," So yeah, and anyone thinking that Bilal Muhammad's going to break Wonder Boy is an idiot. That would be such a ridiculous kind of point of view. Wonder Boy is unbreakable at this stage. You can hold him down though. You can beat him. But open mat takedowns on Wonder Boy are rarely successful. He's very good at getting up. You really have to trap him against the cage. And like you say, he's elusive. Muhammad's a little too slow. He's not going to be able to keep this fight on the cage. And anytime he can, the second he kind of like, tries to engage in clinch work rather than immediately chasing the takedown, is just going to be a huge mistake, and Wonder Boy will get away again. I just think it's a good matchup for Wonder Boy.
I agree. So another matchup that I think is very well favored for one fighter but not the other. One of our faves, Angela Overkill Hill.
I want to pick this one. Can we skip this one?
No, but we can just say this. Like, she's got balls, Angela Hill. But the problem when you're not able to break into that upper echelon of that top 10 rankings is you have to fight the up-and-coming killers, and they do nothing for you. Absolutely nothing for you. If you beat them, nobody gives a fuck because they haven't heard of them. But the other person gets all of the clout from beating you. And Amanda Lemos is a fucking tank of a woman. This lady is scary. She has gone through her last couple of opponents. Yeah, Montserrat Ruiz and Livia Renato Souza had no fucking idea what they were in for. One of them got knocked out in 35 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, they both do kind of suck a little bit as well. But Lemos is a beast. And the other thing is the scary thing about it is that Angie seems to just fucking bring out the best in people. That's the problem. She's too good for her own good. She brings out the best in people. They have just about a career fucking day against her, and then
she's technical, but without. She's technical, but she doesn't have any. She doesn't have any outstanding physical attributes. So you know that you're in for a very high level fight, but there's also a feeling that you can make mistakes. There's not the same threat coming through that the fight could end at any point with Angie. And I think that's always a tricky thing where when that is your style, you have to be so good for the entire fight. Whereas somebody more powerful and more of a finisher only has to find those moments where they can be hyper successful.
You risk losing momentum rather than losing consciousness. It's a much more kind of appetizing gambit.
Now, listen, if you're fucking that good and that's how you style, and you're just so technical that works for you. You're a Dominic Cruz, you're an Izzy to a certain extent, where you can just win rounds and control things, and that is your wheelhouse. Then fair enough. But Angie isn't that, and I was a little worried in the build up to a Tisha Torres fight. In the embedded, she said something which is always a bit worrying. She said, the way I look at my fighting is if this is a video game skill tree. Before I say this, I love Angela Hill. Love her on the commentary team, part of the production team. I love watching her fight. I love her personality. I like her story. But she was kind of saying, like, my striking is filled. It's the wrestling that I need to build up, and there is truth in that. But I don't like this attitude of thinking it's like the Dan Hardy thing of thinking, well, my striking, that's spot on, bit of takedown defense, and I'm all sorted. Then you go in against Carlos Condit thinking, no wrestling problems here. I can just strike. I am better at strike than this person. This will be my win. And then you get caught and you get in trouble. And, Angela Hill got outdone in every aspect in that Tisha Torres fight. Every single aspect.
Yep.
And listen, Tisha Torres is a beast. And she is having a resurgence of her career. She has found a sweet spot. She is a top 5 fighter, in my opinion, in that weight class. I could see her rematching Rose down the road for a title. That could be really, really interesting. I think Angela Hill's a little lost. There was a lot of takedowns attempts in that fight with Tisha. That's not her game. And I think Lemos is just, she's on the up. This is her moment. And I think it's going to be by a knockout. However tough Angela Hill is. I know she hasn't fought great people, but you just know when you're seeing somebody that's just physically different from other people.
Yeah. I'm going to go Lemos by decision, but I don't think KO is a bad shout. I've got to be honest, man, I'm picking a lot of decisions. Just looking through my picks.
Bantamweight, Asuncao, Ricky Simone. This is a really good fight. Asuncau's had a rough old ride. What's he had? 2 or 3 losses in a row? Maybe a win, and then he'd had a couple of losses before that. So it's been a lot of 1 steps forwards, 2 steps backs kind of situation. Yeah, he's lost 3 in a row. Sandhagen, Moraes, and Cody.
Before that, should let Cody reach into his back pocket. That's where he went wrong.
But you look before then, he beat Sterling, he beat Moraes, he beat Lopez, he beat Font. And then from 2019 onwards, it's been a rough-old ride, although that's only been 3 fights. The guy's old. He's like 38. He's definitely on the way out. Ricky Simone. I love Ricky Simone. Really exciting. Great attitude. The only guy he's fought that's even close to the level that Asuncao is a 40-year-old Uriah Faber, and he got knocked out. I think he's more ready for this opportunity now, and I don't think Asuncao maybe right now is at the level that Faber was when he came back. I know he was 40, but he still trains like a demon. He'd had a few years out, so he'd been able to recover from a lot of that kind of wear and tear and injury. This is a close fight, but I just kind of feel like Asuncao's still got it. Like the technique, the ability is still there. He might be a little slower, but he's still a great fighter. This is still the guy that beat some of the current champion not that long ago.
Look, he is still a great fighter. I just think with what Ricky Simon kind of offers with the takedowns as well, I'm just leaning towards Ricky by decision. I think it is quite a close fight. I don't know what the odds were on this one, actually. I can't remember if I looked this one up.
Interesting to see.
This for me, I kind of looked at it. I was like, good fight, close fight. I think Simon's going to squeak this. I usually, if I'm like on the fence and I'm kind of thinking like there's not an obvious kind of stylistic advantage or anything, I kind of go off on like recent form. I'm like, fuck it. I'll let Vegas decide. And if there's like a huge favorite, I'm like, I'm leaning that way, like a little bitch. But with this one, it was easy. I was just like, yep, Ricky Simon by decision.
Probably a smart pick. I'm going in the opposite direction. I'm going for Asuncao, and I'm going to say by decision as well. Real deciding factor for me is that even in that Cody Garbrandt loss last year, he was kind of winning that fight, man,
Oh,
until
he
he
was
got caught.
definitely winning that fight. If he didn't let him reach into that little back pocket and pull out whatever the fuck he pulled out, he would have won that fight.
Hands down. Is what it is. Carlos Diego Ferreira taking on the up-and-coming monster, Mateus Gamrot, who has definitely had one of my all-time favourite post-fight moments after winning a fight when he beats Jeremy Stevens, where he spent just 45 seconds walking around the cage screaming his own name. It's fucking brilliant. It was like he was a fucking Dragon Ball Z character. Gamrot! It's like, yes! It's exactly what you should say if your name's something as cool as Gamrot. And he's taking on Diego Ferreira, who has lost his last two fights, I think, maybe 3 fights.
I don't think it's as many as 3. I'd be surprised.
No, he lost to Gillespie and he lost to Dariush. I think the Dariush one really kind of broke maybe some of his will a little bit because he had the massive win back in 2020 against Pettis at the start of the year. Then he has to fight Dariush, and that was a tough fight for him. And even Dariush kind of said we both should have been fighting top 5 guys really from what we've been doing in the sport.
Yeah.
And with the,
yeah.
and then he's 36 and he's set back again and he comes up against Gillespie. He has a bunch of weight issues. I don't know if that was just poor preparation or something went wrong, but he went in there clearly not 100%. Obviously, he gets finished in the second round. Now he's got to fight a killer, man, an absolute killer. Gamrot lost his debut, but he was fighting that other monstrous guy from Georgia.
Kutsaladze.
That's the one. And that was a very close fight in itself. So,
yeah, that was split decision, maybe.
I think split decision, something like that. I feel sorry for Diego Ferreira, but
debut
I think
plus Kutsaladze, we just take that one out. It's like the Garn fight for Lewis. Just I take it out of the equation. It's an outlier. We're not thinking about it. Gamrot's a guy that's going to be quicker in the scrambles, faster, stronger. Ferreira seems to be showing his age a little bit. Maybe that's cynical, but
I don't think you're wrong on that.
He caught Pettis at kind of the right time in his career. Although he was legit, like he was ranked at that point.
Yeah.
But he should have probably been ranked before then. And what Benny D said, like bang on the money. They were both kind of getting mugged off with that matchup. But yeah, again, he's I don't know whose wife he fucked, but they don't do him any favors.
And at his age, 2 on the bounce, I don't think this is looking good. I'm saying Gamrot by TKO.
I was saying Gamrot by decision, but just in that sort of like stupid way that I'm like, I think some of the grappling ability is gonna like nullify what Gamrot does. He is a tough, durable guy on the feet. He's not great or anything, but I think he's going to keep trying to pull guard, and Gamrot's going to just keep chasing him down and stay on top of him. And decision. I have no confidence in it. I've not had any fun making the picks past the first 4. If I'm honest, this is where it started getting difficult.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it really got any easier as I went on.
Well, I don't know.
That's
I kind of feel
the next fight. Sorry.
the next fight. I feel like I'm pretty confident where my mind is. We got Cub Swanson taking on Darren Elkins. Great matchmaking. Like, does it make sense? No, it's just 2 fucking guys being around the block.
What do you mean it doesn't make sense? This is so exciting. I
think one of these guys is a lot better than the other.
Yeah, but the other guy is
a zombie, I know.
He's fucking Darren Elkins, so it doesn't matter who you put Darren Elkins against. It's almost guaranteed to be like amazing and weird and impressive in some way. There's almost certainly going to be a lot of blood. No one's going to take a round off at any point. It's just going to be an all-out kind of war. Fuck. I remember before Swanson fought Doo Ho Choi. I got like really fucking excited for it, and I didn't stay up to watch it, and my mate did, and he invited me around to rewatch it with him the next day because he wanted to watch it twice. And we were like, he was running me through the fight cards while I was driving over. I had him on speakerphone, and he was like, "Yeah," and Cub Swanson do High Troy, and I was like, "Oh, that's gonna be a good fight." And he's like, "Oh man, like I wanted to tell you so bad when you said that, but it was like fight of the year. Like this has that kind of potential."
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fucking excited for this fight.
Well, it's a cool fight. I just think that as long as Cub is able to use his experience to understand that you cannot think just because you've hurt him that you're even close to getting Darren Elkins out of there. I think as long as he
Yeah,
understands that patience, he's got all the tools in the world to win this fight. All the tools in the world. You know, his jiu-jitsu, I think, is good enough to fend off anything that Elkins is going to throw at him offensively. I don't see Cub looking to engage or take Elkins to the ground himself. I think he's going to trust his striking. And, you know, Cub's got, you know, particularly if you look at something like the Crone Gracie fight, he's got good movement. He can hold up over 3 rounds, and he just hits so hard, man. When he hits, he fucking cracks. And however tough Elkins is, and I've seen Elkins take some unholy beatings, it's like the Josh Emmett thing. It's like it doesn't matter how tough you are. If you get a hit, it's not going to be the same as it is with other people. Now, is Cub the hardest hitting guy at featherweight? No, but I don't think it's going to take too much as long as he's patient for him to get, and I'm calling it, the finish over Darren Elkins.
you
By
said
TKO.
knockout.
I'm saying knockout.
Okay, I'm going decision. Mostly because, like you say, like when you hurt Elkins, you think he's in deep waters. It's like that horror movie, kind of deep waters. There's a jump scare left in him.
Yeah.
You know, Jason Voorhees is coming up through the lake. Carries hands coming up through the foundations where the house used to be. You know, yeah, Darren Elkins can do some
Yeah.
scary shit.
Avatar: The Last Airbender by M. Night Shyamalan says that there's going to be another movie afterwards.
Okay,
It's terrifying.
that's a good
Terrifying.
one. That's a good one. Yeah, I'm going Swanson decision. Decision.
Okay. On to the prelims. Our boys back, GM3, off the back of a fucking great couple of wins to bounce off his loss to the monster that is Hamzat Chimaev, as I almost slipped on his name. And his last win, was against Makhmut Muradov, which pretty much nobody thought he had a hope in. We didn't think he had a hope in that one.
No.
But damn it, he got it done. And now he's taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. Stoltzfus is coming off a loss to Rodolfo Vieira, where he probably trained his jiu-jitsu harder than he's ever trained it in his whole life and then got outstruck. So, oops. He got outstruck by Rodolfo Vieira. That makes this so clear in my mind. What's going to happen?
He is big, though. He is big.
GM3 is big.
He's not as big as Rodolfo.
No, he's not as stacked as Rodolfo, but he's fuckload taller, man. Rodolfo's like a short kind of, he's not tall, but he's like 6 foot something. GM's like what, 6'2", 6'3"?
No, Rodolfo's all lats, triceps, biceps. I'm pretty sure his arm shoulder mass is like 80% of his body mass. Man, every time I pick GM3, he loses. Every time I pick against him, he wins. And it's nothing personal. I want him to win, but I am going to pick him to win. I really hope I haven't jinxed it.
I hope I don't jinx this either. Although I picked him 2 fights ago and he did win that. So maybe it's not a curse.
Oh, no one gets him wrong more than I do.
Well, I'm picking him to win by sub.
Same Z's.
Nice.
I just felt Stoltzfus is probably going to engage too willingly in some grappling, and it's just going to not go his way. GM3 is pretty slick, kind of methodical, kind of like a, what are they called? Glaciers. Just that slow, steady inevitability when you get him on the ground. I made the left hand work there. I framed it nicely.
No, you did well.
Get my shit together.
I know you said that the picks get harder as you go, but is Ronnie Barcelos versus Victor Henry, was that really a tough pick for you?
Only because Barcelos is old, and I'm wary of having another week like the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I've gone Barcelos by decision.
I know
Seems like
nothing.
a sensible one. Yeah, this is the thing. Too much of an unknown quality. I wonder if someone else knows something I don't know.
Maybe not, but I don't like picking guys that I don't know unless they're fighting guys that I think are absolutely terrible. So I'm going Barcelos as well. I'll say decision to keep it super, super safe. I don't even think the next fight is that close. We've got Justin Taffer against Harry Hunsucker, but here's the thing. Justin Taffer's record does not reflect his ability because...
Yes, but his record reflects my inaccuracy with picking him because I pick this guy a lot.
I pick him a lot as well, but I think he won the Carlos Felipe fight and got fucking bullshitted. The Jared Vanderaa fight was unfortunate because I didn't actually realize that Jared Vanderaa was good. And I don't think Taffer realized that he was good because he got fucked over by a Spisak, but he's actually pretty good. So, okay, you lose that one, it happens. The only thing I've seen of Harry Hunsucker is him just getting, literally just pulverized by Tai Tuivasa in the space of like less than a minute. And even Tai Tuivasa just being, oh, sorry, mate, you shouldn't have really been here, should you? So,
yeah.
I still think he should be there.
Yeah, he lost to Vanderaa on the Contender Series as well. But again, same as GM3, like when I picked Taffer, fucking losers. I'm
Not
picking
this
Taffer
time
again.
It's a turning of the trend, mate. It's a turning of the trend.
Fucking
I'm going Taffer KO.
Might as well carpool, Matt, because we're going the same way.
Direction.
I forgot what the camera was.
Right.
I was so happy when Sly did that the other week, you know.
I know. I could see it on your face. It lit up. Your eyes were just gleaming. Sijara Eubanks. 8-6 record, taking on the undefeated Melissa Gatto. But here's the thing. There's Sijara Eubanks at bantamweight, and there's Sijara Eubanks at flyweight. And at flyweight, this woman looks shredded. Powerful, dominant, and I've seen a couple of Melissa Gatto's fights. You know, she's technical, but I didn't think she looked particularly outstanding in any way. And she looks like she has the kind of body type that against a real physical fighter like Eubanks, I don't see her staying on her feet. And I don't see her being able to do a lot once she's put flat on her back. I'm going Eubanks TKO.
Nice. I'm going Eubanks decision. Always been a fan of Sarge ever since the Ultimate Fighter. Like you say, very, very different at this weight class. You know, when she gets the cut right, she is an absolute animal. Eubanks decision, but I think the TKO is, you know,
it's there. It could be there.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. This one was hard just because I was kind of toing and throwing on different methods and wondering if I really was just kind of being too much of a homer for Sarge. And the next one's easy, and then it's all difficult again from that, I think.
And the next one's super easy, dude, because I fucking hate Andre. I don't know. That's really mean. I don't hate Andre Ewell. I've just been...
Everyone prefers Canadians. You can say it that way.
No, do you see? He's flattered to deceive. That's what I'll say about Andre Ewell. He's flattered to deceive. I thought he lost the Jonathan Martinez fight. I thought the fight before, he was very, very fortunate. Squeaked that one. And, you know, his last two, particularly the Chris Gutierrez fight, I just kind of feel like you can see where the guy's ceiling is, where Charles Jourdain, he'll lose fights. He has lost fights. He will continue to lose fights in his career. But he's younger, he's learning, and he's just got this attitude, this willingness to go forward and engage and do something crazy and try and finish the fight. And he brings the pressure. And Andre Ewell likes space. He likes being able to use that long reach and move around and jab and 1-2 and have everything in rhythm. And that might work for the first round, but if Charles Jourdain is losing, he's going to do everything he can to find a way to win. And he will walk through that to land something. And what he lands will be nasty.
Worse than that, it will work against him because if you give Jourdain a ramp up, you know, they call him air for a reason. This guy can cover some distance, and that's where he can land the heaviest shots. I mean, the flying knee against oh shit, was it against Malcolm X? Oh fuck, who was it? Who did he land the flying knee against? It's been a long day today. I'm not going to get into on the podcast. My girlfriend
Marcelo
was stranded
Rojo?
in Leon yesterday. Shit, was it? Maybe.
I think it was Marcelo Rojo.
Good
Must
shout.
have been. Must
We
have
don't
been.
need Sly anymore. You're on it.
Two
Yeah,
laptops,
man.
mate. Two laptops.
I'm going Air Jourdain by KO. I feel it. This one for me was the last, like, one of the last easy ones.
I really wanted to try and come up with a different version of your carpool thing, but I couldn't off the top of my head. So instead, I'm just going to say Jourdain by knockout.
I was going to say as well, what I really love about Charles is he's one of these guys that, like, he can potentially win against anybody because he's never scared to lose. And I think, like, I was planning on saying that, and you were kind of like, you just phrased it in a much more eloquent kind of way. But like,
You want our audience to know that you were on the same page.
I want you to know we're on the same page here. Like, yeah, you're going KO as well, yeah?
Of course.
Hell yeah. All right.
Now we get to the hardest fight to pick for me on the whole fucking card. Because you've got a tried and tested vet that has seen the highs and lows of MMA in the UFC, but it's looked pretty damn good in her last few fights. Really looking like she's found a groove back again. Same as is it a wife or a girlfriend, Tisha?
Oh shit, I want to say wife, but
I'm not 100% sure. I feel like they might be in that fiance thing.
Like, if they're not married, they're as good as married anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Shit, I think they are.
They're
fucking power couple.
They're practically married by situation. So we'll say, just like her wife Tisha Torres has both just found their groove, seem to be performing the best that they have in their career. They're getting win streaks together. She's taking on Macy Chiasson at featherweight, and I think that favors Pennington more than it favors Chiasson. Pennington's older, gets harder to cut the weight. I think Pennington's a little bit bigger. Chiasson has fought at flyweight. Pennington would have to cut off some fingers and maybe an appendage to get down to flyweight. So I think that is going to benefit Pennington here. But, you know, she's going to be taking on Chiasson effectively in a striking match with some, you know, clinch work and pressing against the fence. Chiasson's, you know, when I thought she was going to be fighting Aspen Ladd, the worry was, is she going to be able to stop the chain wrestling and just being put on her back the whole time? And if that's not the same threat that's going to be coming through, I do think that Chiasson is a little bit more of a polished striker.
Yeah, she's I just want to double check it. She's actually quite a lot bigger as well than Pennington. 4 inches of height and
The
4.5
reach
inches
is crazy.
Reach. Yeah.
She fights long as well, whereas Pennington likes to be right up in there in the pocket.
She fights long going forward, but going back, she gets in a bit of a flap sometimes. And frankly, I think Pennington is just too big a step up for her right now. I can't believe this is at featherweight. I thought it was a bantamweight. This is it's not changing my pick, but this is definitely. I disagree with you on it favoring Pennington. I think this is definitely going to favor Chiasson. I'm still going with Rocky though.
Chiasson's long and she's tall, but I don't think in terms of weight that you can say she's way bigger than Pennington. I mean, Chiasson literally not that long ago was fighting 10 pounds lighter. Pennington has to cut a pretty decent amount of weight to get to 135.
What was Macy? Were you saying Macy was a flyweight?
Sure, Macy was at flyweight. Is this a Mandela effect thing? Have I gone a bit fucking crazy?
I don't think she's ever, because I'm pretty sure didn't she
Mate,
go through like the
all over the shop.
shop.
What the fuck am I talking about? I am miles off. She started at featherweight. Ignore all of me. Ignore all of me.
Like, she came through the Ultimate Fighter at featherweight, but she has been fighting basically since the Ultimate Fighter, she's been fighting at bantamweight. She looks good as a natural bantamweight, but she's 5'11".
That's tall.
Still, I think going forward, she uses the size really well. If you're not one of the really special ones, if you're not like Nunes or someone like Rocky doesn't give a fuck. And I think she's going to put a bit of a hurting on her. And she's really going to test her. And Jesus Christ, I'm amazed that she's taking her at featherweight, but fucking go on, girl. So, yeah, I'm still going Rocky by decision. I think it's a little closer at 45, but not close enough for Macy.
I'll keep
Still
this thing.
fucking hard fight to pick, though. I'm not saying it was like an easy.
I'm going to go in the opposite direction. I'm going to go Shizon by decision, just so that we're not too identically matched on things. Keeps it a bit interesting.
Has Slice done anything in this week?
No. I'll ask him, and then what I'll do is if he wants to do picks for this one, I can add them in the edit. Just put them up on the screen or something as we're doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's run through these last two quickly. We've got Dontel Mays taking on Josh Parisian in a who the fuck knows and who the fuck cares fight. I'll say Parisian by decision.
So I think it's a fight Mays should be winning. But, Parisian disappoints me when I pick him, and I assume he's going to disappoint me when I pick against him. Mays by KO. But if this fucking namesake of mine screws me over on this, I won't be impressed.
And final fight, first up, Jordan Levitt. Had a great first fight in the UFC. Second fight didn't quite go to plan, but I feel he's going to bounce back against Matt Sales for the simple reason that I don't know a lot about Matt Sales. We're going to say Jordan Levitt by KO. Why not?
Sales has got like a fair bit of hype behind him. And, oh shit, who did he lose to? He was doing all right. Yeah, that was it. He got twisted by Bryce Mitchell. Levitt, he did before the Matt Wyman fight, he did have the Contender Series, and fans are kind of like getting behind him. What's his name? Is it Monkey King, Spider Monkey?
I think it's the Monkey King, Jordan Levitt.
I had to have another guess because it just sounds wrong when you say it.
The Monkey King. The Monkey King.
Yeah, the guy is long. He's weird. He's got, a similar kind of threat to Bryce Mitchell once it hits the mat. I'm just going to go with Levitt again. I just think Thunder strikes twice. I don't think he gets the sub, but I'm going to go Levitt by decision.
Yeah, I've said Levitt by KO, so I'm kind of with you at least part of the way there. And yeah, that's the card, guys. That's our picks. We're going to add Sly's picks as well if he decides to add them and send them across. And I will try and do a video with Tom, if possible, on the Jake Paul Tyron Woodley 2 fight. So look out for that. But whatever you do, enjoy the fights. Whatever fights you watch, have a great weekend, guys. And as always, by Dave, by Laurie, by Trifo.
Bye, Dave. Bye, Laurie. I figured out what the camera was.
Oh, and very quickly, sorry, guys. Give a shout out. I'm going to give a shout out to Tommy Trolls, who's got his own YouTube channel. It's called Tom Reacts. Go check that out. He's doing slightly shorter videos, but he's watching some fights live. He's going to have some more material coming out next week after this card. So definitely look out for that. He's doing really well with that show. And yeah, have a great weekend. Take care.